Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining us for today's Webinar Wednesday, brought to you by UK University Search. As always, we are live streaming on YouTube, so if any of your friends have been unable to access the Zoom session, then please tell them that it's really easy to access the live stream over on the UK University Search YouTube channel. Today we're going to be exploring apprenticeships, and we've got two special guest speakers from PwC and Pearson College London. Apprenticeships present some incredible opportunities to develop yourself and your career prospects, with the chance to earn while you learn and gain a qualification alongside being able to get that really essential work experience. Anya from PwC and Emily from Pearson College are going to talk to you through why you should consider choosing an apprenticeship and what they have to offer you. After we've spoken to Anya and Emily, we'll be answering lots of your questions about apprenticeships. If you have a question, we would love to hear from you. So please pop your question in the Q&A section if you're watching on Zoom, or in the live chat on YouTube if you're watching the live stream on there. If you are viewing on YouTube, please be aware that this is monitored by our representatives, and any inappropriate content will be reported to your school or college. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to pass you over to Anya, and she'll be talking you through the apprenticeship options over at PwC.
Hello everybody, so as Megan introduced me, my name is Anya and I'm from the PwC student recruitment team. It's lovely to be with you this afternoon and it's great to talk to you all about our apprenticeship opportunities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you and run through a couple of slides around all our different opportunities. So please just bear with me while I share my screen. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to run through some information around what we call our school and college leaver programs, and these are our higher apprenticeship programs. So I'm going to chat through who we are, a little bit about these opportunities, a little bit of information about how to apply, and then some information about some employability skills as well. So lots of you won't have heard of PwC before. We're not a household name, we're not a product that you can pick up off the shelf from us. We're a professional services firm, and what this means is that we help our clients solve complex business problems and help them to run their organisations better. And we do this across a range of different solutions, some of what you can see on the screen. So audit is our accounting business. We have a consulting practice. We work in the legal sector. We have a tax practice, all these different types of businesses within our one business. What this means is that companies can come to us as our clients, and they can come to us with any issues that they've got, and we will help them to solve those issues. So that could be somebody like the NHS, for example, and don't quote me on this one, it's not necessarily a client of ours, but just an example, could come to us and say, you know, they want help with making sure that they have enough beds available for a way of categorizing patients and making sure that they move through the hospital so they get enough beds that are able to support the people that need them. So lots and lots of different problems that we try to solve. We are a huge firm, so we have over 21,000 employees across the UK, the Channel Islands and the Middle East, which is kind of grouped together. It's a little bit odd, but do bear with us on that one. In the UK, we have over 20 offices, and they range all the way down from Southampton, right down in the south, all the way up to Edinburgh, Aberdeen and Glasgow up in Scotland, and we have them all the way across the country. So I can promise that pretty much wherever you're listening from today, we've got an office very local to you. There's some great opportunities in it. And we're one of the UK's largest recruiters of graduates and undergraduates. So every year we take on approximately 200 or so students on our higher apprenticeship scheme. So we're very much set up for it, and we very much look forward to having our higher apprentices start with us as well. Just to give you an idea about the types of clients that we would work with, so this could be large international banks, we could work with high street clothing brands, we could work with, you know, famous football clubs or personnel from the football club as well. It doesn't have to be a company, it could be an individual person as well. We might work with your local supermarket chain. So we might not be the product that you go into the shop and you buy, but we might be supporting those companies that you do go and buy from quite often. So what we're here to talk to you today is about our apprenticeship routes. So this is just to give you an overview of the different programs that are available. So at a year 12 age, you can gain an insight with PwC on our Insight Weeks. These unfortunately haven't been able to be run in person this year due to COVID. However, we are running our virtual Insight Week at the moment. So if you're a current year 11 student, you'll be able to apply hopefully next year for the program. After these, we kind of have three routes that you can go down. So the apprenticeship route, the Flying Start degree program, and the graduate and undergraduate routes. So if you're interested in information on the Flying Start degree program or the graduate routes, you can find more information about that online on our website. But I'm going to talk through the apprenticeship routes with you today. So this is what we call, as I said, our school and college leaver opportunities. And which teams can you join? So as an apprentice, you can join our tax, our consulting, and our deals team. We do sometimes also have opportunities within our audit practice. However, it is mainly our tax, our consulting, and our deals practices. On the school and college leaver programs, you would be doing a professional qualification. So this would be dependent on the program that you'd be joining, and I'll provide a little bit more information around each professional qualification as well. You do an induction with your peer group. So as I said, we recruit approximately 200 or so school and college leavers each year. So you would definitely have support around you and within the office. So you do an induction with them and get to know everybody across the different areas of the business. You'll be doing an awful lot of on-the-job learning. So whilst you will be doing a professional qualification and studying at a training provider, which is usually Kaplan for us, to do the professional qualification, a lot of your time is initially spent doing some on-the-job learning. So we don't expect you guys to have any prior knowledge before joining us in an apprenticeship. So we want to get you trained up as quickly as possible. And one of the best ways to do this is to throw you a little bit in the deep end and get you right started at the start with the team that you sit with your team and you really get to grips with the meetings and the work that they're doing as well. Really helps to build your network. So as I said, you'll have your team, you'll have your peer group, but you'll also be obviously accessible to everybody in the office. So you can build a really strong network with those around you. You'll be doing some technical and skills training. So this can be through the professional qualification, but also through some internal platforms as well. And we've got lots and lots of different technical training that's available. You might be asked to do some technical training courses if necessary for the program that you've joined as well. But ultimately, you'll be working with the PwC team. You are, as an apprentice, very much a full-time employee of PwC. You're not treated any differently to anybody else. In fact, you're treated just like one of the graduates who've joined, and most people won't even realize that you're on an apprenticeship. I think the mean age of PwC is around 28 years old, so it's a young firm to be in. It's a young business to be in, and there's lots of people, maybe not quite as young as yourselves, aged 18 or 19, leaving school, but definitely around the 20, 21, 22 mark who've left university. So lots and lots of younger people in the office, so you don't feel like you stand out or anything like that. In terms of the qualification that you would be doing, so for the routes, these both have different qualifications. So you'd be doing the CFAB or the ATT for the tax route, and this is a level 4 apprenticeship, just like the consulting one. The consulting one, you don't do a professional qualification, but you do PwC specific program training and exams that qualify it as a level 4 apprenticeship. For the deals program, this is a slightly higher level apprenticeship. So this is a level 7 apprenticeship, and you do the CFAB, which is a certificate in finance, accounting and business. All of them are 2-year long training contracts. So the tax and the deals ones are full-time and they are permanent contracts with us. So we'd look to then just, after you finish this 2-year program, you would stay in the business and move up through the kind of the ranks within the firm. The consulting program is 2 years on the higher apprenticeship, and then you would move on to the graduate scheme at that point, if successful, and if that's what you wanted to do at that point as well. So what is actually like to work at PwC? fantastic firm to work for. It's really collaborative, really flexible, and really kind of mobile as well. So we're all working from home at the moment. You get a bit of an insight into where I'm living at the moment. But usually in the office environment, it is really, really positive as well. There's lots going on. You've got socials, sports teams, volunteering, get involved in events, as well as kind of different interest groups. You know, there's always something new that's going on. We work really flexibly, so working from home isn't anything that's been very new for us. I already worked from home probably 2 or 3 days a week. So when COVID happened, this wasn't anything that was particularly new for us. But it's a really positive environment, and the teams and the people that you work with make it that really positive environment as well. So we wanted to do a little bit of myth busting with you. So when I talk to students, and especially when I talk to parents as well, you've often got quite a lot of questions to ask about apprenticeships. So we just want to do a little bit of myth busting with you. So the first one is I won't get the traditional university experience if I do an employer degree. So this one is more aimed at our Flying Start program, but I will address it from kind of the apprenticeship position as well. So whilst going to the training provider, no, you won't get a traditional university experience. And if that's something that you're looking for, and that kind of Freshers Week and the study that goes alongside that, then potentially an apprenticeship isn't quite for you. What you do get instead is a real kind of foot in the door, and that training from day one as well, and being able to work whilst you learn. And if that's what you're looking for, then an apprenticeship might just be right up your street as well. You can still join clubs and societies on a school leaver program. So whilst it's not the same as university, there are still lots of clubs and societies that you can join on the program. So I've said that we have lots of social teams within the office. So we've got a social committee, they have a volunteering committee, and we've got teams that go and play rugby, that go and play tennis, that go and play football, they go and play netball, all that kind of jazz. So you can definitely get involved with those on the School and College Leaver programme. And each cohort as well has kind of a peer group support that put on socials and make sure that everybody is really involved there. Again, the next one is a little bit more to do with employer-sponsored degrees, but again, we'll address this from an apprenticeship position. So the fees that that are paid to the training provider, you don't have to pay, and that's all paid for by the firm, and you obviously do get paid a very nice, very competitive salary along the way on the apprenticeship as well. So hopefully that kind of that sets apart any worries that you've got in terms of your pay or your compensation or anything like that. If you did choose to go to university, you don't need kind of top grades to get onto the professional graduate scheme. So we look for a 2-1 at a university level, and if you wanted to come on to the apprenticeship route, we'd be looking at 96 or 112 UCAS points, depending on the programme that you were going for. So do have a look on for the specific program requirements, and it would always be in the job description, but usually consulting and deals take 112 UCAS points, and then 96 UCAS points is for the tax program, but it can change year on year, so do have a look on the website. The next myth is if I want work experience at a top firm, I would have to volunteer to work for free. So the work experience that we offer, the Insight Weeks, are paid. As well on this, you don't have to have any prior work experience to come on one of the apprenticeship routes. It's definitely not a necessity. If you want to go and get some work experience, that's fantastic, but we would never ask around that as part of the recruitment process. As I said, we're not expecting you to have any prior knowledge, any prior experience. What we're looking for is a real willingness and a real kind of drive and motivation to learn more, and a real interest in the work that we do as well. So it's more about the skills and the interest that you have at that point and in the program, and then showing us what you would talk through the recruitment process with you. And then the last one, and this is the one that we get asked the most, and probably from parents more than students, I have to say, but you can definitely feed this one back to your students. So a degree will increase my earning potential in the longer term, and you can't progress to the top without it. And this is a big one when people are looking at apprenticeships. And I would definitely say that this is a myth. We have people within the firm who are at the senior manager and the director level who came through the higher apprenticeship route. It really, really doesn't limit your progression within the firm at all. As I said, people won't even realise that you're on the apprenticeship route, and a lot of the people who I've spoken to within the firm really love having the apprentices in their team. They bring a lot of energy, and they're also really, really dedicated and really hardworking as well. The one caveat I would say to this is it's if you're thinking of making a career change later in your life, that the lack of a degree could potentially cause you an issue at that point. However, you will have an awful lot of real life experience under your belt, and an awful lot of things that you can put on your CV and really, really talk about. So you wouldn't be going in at an entry level role to it if you were making a career change or making a firm company change or anything like that. So we really feel that it wouldn't stop you progressing to the top without it. So just to quickly run through the application process. So there are a number of stages to the application process. It might seem a little bit daunting to succeed. So I think the biggest thing to say is just to have a bit of a practice and to get informed about the recruitment process before you start it. So the first thing that you need to do is do your research. Really, really important one. They're available. Make yourself a list, and also make yourself a list of all the application deadlines as well, because you'd hate to miss out on anything because you missed the deadline. Next thing you need to do is go onto our website and start an application form. For some of our programs, you apply via UCAS, but for all of the higher apprenticeship routes, you apply. We'll ask you some educational background details and we'll ask for your contact details as well. But it won't ask you to complete any of those lovely questions that ask you why do you want to work for this firm or anything. So I promise it would only take you 5 minutes or so to complete it. Once you've done that, you'll be asked to participate in some online games and some online tests. So we use a situational judgment test, and then we use a game-based assessment as well. And these two are really just to kind of start to see what you would do in situations, and if you have the character traits that would really kind of sit in line with the business that you'd be looking to join. The next stage would be a video interview. And we'd ask you a series of questions about different situations that you could be in and what you would do in those situations for wanting to work with us and the role that you've applied for. All of those bits are done online. If you're successful, you'd then look to come along to one of our assessment centres. This would be in person, hopefully, and in the office. And this would consist of a group exercise, a written exercise, and a short interview as well. And hopefully after that, you will be made an offer for one of our programs. You can do some practice. So we have something called the Employability Hub. This can be found on our website, and you can do some practice about all of the different stages of our recruitment process. I would say, even if you're not interested in applying for PwC, and that is absolutely fine if you're not, this is some really, really good practice for any company that you're looking at going. And finally, just to share with you the skills that we look for. So we have something called a PwC Global. This is something that we hold our candidates to internally when it comes to our end of year reviews and when we're looking to kind of set ourselves goals and challenges for the year ahead. So there's 5 different attributes here: whole leadership, business acumen, technical capabilities, global acumen, and relationships. and they each have different things that we're looking for. So things like personal development, we're looking for teamwork, we're looking for your communication skills, we're looking at how you deal with change and how you deal with ambiguity and how you can be flexible in the face of adversity as well. We're looking at you knowing, kind of understanding how the specific industry works, you understanding the role that you're going for, and you understanding kind of why you want that role as well. So I'd very much recommend going online and having a good look at these and making sure you understand them. So what should you do next? Go and have a bit of research, have a look at the roles that interest you the most, have a look at the application deadlines. Most roles will open in autumn 2020. And therefore quite a few roles might not be online yet, but each company will have a website with all the different roles that they will have available, they're likely to recruit into for next year. Whilst you've got some time, you can start doing some preparation as well. So have a look at what application processes include and how you can best practice and prepare for these. You can obviously use the tools that I've described on our website, and other companies will have similar as well. But do ask your teachers, your careers advisors, your parents, or anyone else around you if you can practice and prepare with them as well. Things like doing some interview questions while you've got this time at the moment can be really beneficial. But best of all, good luck, and thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will pass back over to Megan.
Thank you very much, Anya. That was really useful, and I hope you learned lots about all the incredible opportunities available over at PwC. We're now going to pass you over to Emily from Pearson College London, and she's going to talk you through the different opportunities they have available there.
Hello, my name's Emily. I'm a degree apprentice at Pearson Business School. So for those of you who haven't heard of Pearson Business School before, we're part of Pearson, the FTSE 100 company who own Edexcel and BTEC. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what degree apprenticeships are, the main differences between a degree and degree apprenticeships, and a little bit about my journey, as I've seen a lot of questions regarding work experience, making your application stand out and where to look for them. So hopefully I can cover all of that in this session. If not, please drop any further questions in the Q&A and I will try and answer them at the end. So first of all, a degree apprenticeship is a new route into higher education. It allows you to combine both work and education. So you get your university degree whilst getting the practical skills of doing a full-time job. It is a full-time job. You have to take risks, you get rewards for that. It's not just a part-time job, you are working full-time with the security of a regular salary. So it's a really good option. However, I'm more than aware that it may not be the perfect route for all students. Some people might be more suited to a traditional university route. So with that in mind, these are some stats from 2017-2018 in the apprenticeship programs that different subjects are offering. So you can see the main focus is in business administration and law, those sort of subjects, and there's less apprenticeships available in areas such as science and maths. There obviously are further details coming of the 2018-2019 cycle and then the 2019-2020 cycle, but these haven't been released yet. So this is backdated a little bit, but this is the most current representation I could get for you guys, just to give you an insight into the different subject areas that are available. So just to highlight a few differences between degree apprenticeships and traditional degrees. With a degree apprenticeship, you work 4 days a week. So you work Monday to Thursday and you study on a Friday towards your degree. I have to emphasise this is just with Pearson Business School. So other degree apprenticeship providers may have a slightly different layout. For example, some companies can do it so that they work 5 days a week and then go on block release for their studies over 2 weeks. It just depends on your degree apprenticeship provider and your employer. Traditional degrees, you are studying full-time at university. You have 10 to 16 hours worth of face-to-face teaching through lectures, seminars, things like that, and then your independent study on top of that. With a degree apprenticeship, you work all year round and you have 28 days annual leave. So you don't get your long Christmas, summer, Easter holidays and things like that. My apprenticeship, for example, I actually study over the summer as well, so I don't have summer term off. Again, this depends on the apprenticeship scheme you're on. So other apprenticeships run by Pearson Business School, everyone studies just autumn and spring term, and they don't study summer. It just depends on your employer, as I've mentioned. Another difference is with a degree apprenticeship, the cost of university is completely covered by your employer. So you are completely debt free. You don't have to worry about any of those tuition fees. Whereas with a full-time degree, you pay your £9,250 a year in terms of tuition fees. With a degree apprenticeship, it does require good time management of extracurricular activities. So yes, it's very full on. I'm not going to deny it's a hard process being a degree apprentice, but it's not to say that your whole life gets cut off. You know, you still have time for extracurriculars if you manage your time well and learn to prioritise certain activities and things like that. Whereas with a traditional degree, you will have more time to pursue those extra interests that you might have. You earn a salary with a degree apprenticeship. So one of the questions asked in the Q&A was, what's the average salary? With Pearson Business School, they range between £14,000 to £24,000 a year for your salary. However, different apprenticeships will vary, and it depends on the company that you're working for, again, as to what your salary is. So, for example, Pearson work with a small startup called Get Geared. They're a company based in Surrey in the motorbike industry, and their apprentices are on a lower salary because they are a startup and well established, whereas apprenticeships we run through the NHS to become NHS managers are on the slightly higher end of that spectrum in terms of their salary because they're a bigger company and more established. Whereas with a traditional degree, you do end up with approximately £50,000 worth of debt once you've graduated, but that does get paid off in instalments, so it's nothing to worry about. It shouldn't put you off of attending university at all. With a degree apprenticeship, it's not a centralised process like it is with UCAS. So there's lots of different websites you can look at. So it can be company websites, it can be degree provider websites, and I'll run you through a few websites that I like to use and that I used when I was applying. Just to give you an idea of some different places you can look, whereas obviously UCAS is a completely centralised system, and you have your 5 universities you can list. Degree apprenticeships, you can apply for as many as you want. There's no restriction on that. So a typical week as a degree apprentice, as I've mentioned, means working Monday to Thursday for your company. And on a Friday, you study for a business management degree. At the moment, Pearson Business School only offer degree apprenticeships in business management, but you get your degree in business management and also you get chartered management status through the CMI, so you're getting 2 separate qualifications, which is really good. The majority of our degree apprenticeships are 3 years long, so they take the same length as a normal degree would take you. However, again, this can vary depending on your employer. So to give you an example, L'Oreal, for example, have run a degree apprenticeship and they've done that over 2.25 years. So it was accelerated, so it was completed quicker than a standard degree. However, TfL, for example, on the other hand, have theirs run over 4 years because they give their apprentices placements at certain stations. So it just depends on your employer, but the majority of ours are 3 years long, the same as a normal degree. To help with your work-study balance, you have 50% contextualised modules. So what that means is they're work-based projects. So they can be things called self-managed learning, consultancy project, and things like that. So you conduct a research project that could be beneficial to the team that you work in or the company as a whole. And it means that you can, as long as it's okay with your line manager, you can complete that project within working hours to help with that work-study balance. And that just really helps combine both aspects of an apprenticeship, which is really useful. At Pearson Business School, we have a mixture of assessment methods. So you get coursework, presentations, exams, and group work. So it's a real reflection of the workplace currently. Group work's becoming more popular, presentations, lots of companies will ask you to do this, whether it's just to your team or to external stakeholders. So it's a really good way to start building those employability skills through your degree and also your workplace. So to give you a little bit of background as to me, this is my scheme that I'm on. So I am known as an international rotational degree apprentice. So what that means is I get international placements every year of my apprenticeship, so I get 3 in total. And these are with Pearson, the wider company, rather than Pearson College, who I usually work for on a day-to-day basis. So my day-to-day role is I work for the student recruitment team at Pearson College London. I attend a lot of HE fairs, I attend schools and deliver workshops and presentations, I do UCAS fairs and things like that as part of my day-to-day role, and I really want to try and help students in terms of what route is best for them. In my placements, I go and work for Pearson. So to give you an example, last year in August, I spent 6 weeks working in the Philippines with Pearson as part of that placement. And I was working in the HR team, so it was something completely different to what I do as part of my day-to-day role. And it really broadened my knowledge on so many different areas of business that I can now apply so much further in my lectures and seminars and things like that. Mine is 3 years long, and I gained my business management degree and my chartered management status through the CMI. However, something to emphasise is a lot of my learning is now done online. So I watch lectures online, do seminar prep, reading, things like that, all online, Monday to Thursday, weekday evenings, or on the weekends, whatever fits around my schedule that day. And then I attend my seminars on a Friday, usually in person. Obviously, due to the circumstances at the moment, I am having those online as well. But you only have 1 day of face-to-face teaching, and that is your seminars where you're doing lots of group work and everything you're learning is really being brought to life. You can see my salary on there. My salary has changed slightly, it's gone up. So there is room, depending on the companies you work for your salary to change as well as you progress on further within your apprenticeship. So a degree apprenticeship can be really hard to figure out if it's right for you. So there's a few different tools you can use. So something I really wish I had when I was looking was our Pearson Business School degree apprenticeship quiz. And what that does, it just looks at different skills that you need to be an apprentice, different ways of working, and sort of evaluates whether a degree apprenticeship might be the right route for you. Now, that's not to say the result of that quiz is adamant and you have to go with that route. It's just to give you an insight as to maybe whether that would be the right route for you. It is a completely different application process. So you do have to do a lot of research. They are highly competitive. So for the scheme I'm on, there was 700 or 800 applicants and there was only 3 roles on that scheme. However, I am a real advocate for the fact that you can get on such amazing apprenticeship schemes without being a AAA star student. So I was predicted BBC at A-level. However, my A-levels didn't go to plan. Unfortunately, I did come out with CDE at A-level. However, I'm on one of the most amazing apprenticeship schemes that I could have ever imagined. So lots of other skills, so employability skills are really important and invaluable to employers. So I'd really emphasise trying to build those. So me, for example, I had work experience on my CV for employers to look at. But I also did something called World Challenge. So I fundraised some money. I flew out to South Africa. I helped build a school for children that were orphaned by HIV and AIDS. Whilst I was out there, I went trekking. And I also had 2 days of R&R where I got to zip wire through the forest, and also I went on safari. So there's some really cool opportunities that can push you guys to gain those skills. I know at the time it was probably the worst thing I could have thought of doing. I was so nervous. It was completely out of my comfort zone. I'd never done DOV or anything like that, but I can hand on heart tell you that it was honestly the best experience of my life, and I absolutely loved it. And I wouldn't be in that position that I am now if I hadn't have done something like that. Obviously, I appreciate at the time, this time, you can't do things like that, but there's so many things you can do now making the most of this time, so like volunteering with like the NHS and things like that, to help build your CV, that can help build you as a person and those skills that employers will look for. It is hard. Like I said, you are juggling a degree and working full time. It's not to say it's impossible. It does just really require good time management and prioritisation of work projects and university projects. For example, I recently had some coursework to submit and I had lots going on with work, and it's just figuring out what to do when, what's most important and things like that. But that's just a little bit of figuring out what route is going to be right for you as an individual. For me, going to university was never an option. I didn't apply to university at all. I didn't want to do the normal traditional route. I knew that wasn't going to suit me. I worked all throughout my A-levels and I enjoyed working and studying. So for me, I knew a degree apprenticeship was right. Others, you might want to apply to UCAS and university and degree apprenticeships. There's no limit or restriction on doing that. But for me, I just knew I wanted to do an apprenticeship, so I didn't apply to UCAS full-time degrees either. So there's lots of different websites you can look at. So we currently have a vacancy alert system that you can sign up to on our website, and you get an email notification every time a new apprenticeship is released. So if you're not looking on our website every day, it just saves that whole having to continually click on lots of different websites to see if anything new has been released, and you just get the email notification straight to your email box. Other websites you can look at are apprenticeship.gov.uk, UCAS. There are some apprentices listed on the UCAS website, the government website, they're on there as well. Rate My Apprenticeship was one I used a lot, and not going to uni, I used that apprenticeship website a lot as well, but they do require a lot of research, and I have to emphasize that you don't want to just look at the company and the job role. Obviously that is important, but you are still doing a full-time degree, so it's really important you look at the modules, the ways of teaching, what university it's coming from, so you pick something that's right for you. So you shouldn't base your decision specifically on a company and its job role. You know, you have got to look at the whole degree side of things, or if you're doing a higher level apprenticeship, looking at the provider of that as well. It is really, really important. This is our application process, so it might be different depending on who you apply through. So stage 1 is an online application form. It just looks at your personal statement and your previous education. With an apprenticeship, it is really important to tailor your personal statement to that company and that job role. So looking at the person specification and matching up specific skills that it's listed on there with what you've written in your personal statement. So making sure you're tailoring those every time to each different apprenticeship you apply for is really important. So still write yourself a generic personal statement, and then it just makes it easier to tailor it. Stage 2 is an online core abilities test. So that just sort of looks at your English and math skills. Stage 3 is a professional workshop. So usually these would take place on campus and you'd be invited in to see the campus and things like that. But however, these are currently taking place online, but they consist of a group exercise, again, because that's part of the assessments when you are an apprentice. Then it has a written exercise, an interview with one of the academic tutors, and then a critical thinking test, a Watson-Glaser test. And then stage 4, you are then progressing onto your company interview, and they make that final decision, sorry. Don't be disheartened if you're whittled at any point. They are highly competitive, like I've mentioned, and it is really hard to get hold of, and you should be extremely pleased if you get through the stages at all. But definitely don't be disheartened if you don't get through, and if you don't get your first one, that's not to say you won't get one. I applied for a few apprenticeship schemes before the one I'm on now, and I thought, oh, like, I can't believe I haven't got them, they're the best thing, I'm never going to find anything like it. And on reflection now, I talked to the apprentices at uni that got their apprenticeship that I went for, and I think, do you know what, that role wouldn't have suited me, that company wouldn't have suited me. I'm so glad that I'm on the scheme I am now. So don't give up, definitely be persistent with it and stay strong. That's it from me. If there are any questions, I'll hopefully be able to answer some in the Q&A, but I'll hand you back to Megan.
Thank you very much, Emily. If you'd just like to, oh, she's done it, there we go. Just ask you to end your screen share, but that's perfect. We're now going to go on to some questions, and we've received a lot of questions through on Zoom and some through on YouTube as well. So if you do have a question, make sure you submit it down in the Q&A or on the live chat, and we'll get through to that for you. Okay, we're going to start with a question for Anya from PwC. So there's lots of different apprenticeship options out there, but how long does an apprenticeship usually take?
So it can really change and depend on the apprenticeship that you actually take. So usually between 2 to 4 years. So we'd be looking at 2 years for the majority of our apprenticeships, but some that other companies offer can take up to 4 years.
That's great, thank you, Anya. We're now going to pass over to Emily for our second question. So you may have covered this in your slideshow, but we have received a few questions, so just wanted to go over it again to make sure everyone was clear. What's the application process like for apprenticeships? Do you apply through UCAS for degree apprenticeships? As this seems to be a question that lots of people have about the degree apprenticeship route.
Yep, so you can apply through UCAS, but it's not necessarily to say that all apprenticeships are listed on the UCAS website. So you can apply through lots of different ways. So if you want to look at the UCAS website, you're more than welcome to, and the apprenticeships are listed. Some of the apprenticeships are listed on there. However, you can apply through not going to uni or Pearson Business School's website, for example. You can even apply through company websites. So, for example, IBM might list their apprenticeships on their website and also with us, and you can choose to apply through one or the other. It just requires a lot of research, and it does depend on the apprenticeship schemes you're looking for. So they're really hard to talk on. They're different with all of them. But yes, you can apply through UCAS, but there's lots of other websites to look at to apply for as well.
Thank you very much, Emily. Next up, we have another question for Anya. So apprenticeship schemes are very competitive, especially as they're becoming more and more popular and more people are wanting to get involved with them and all the fantastic opportunities that they can open doors for. Do you need to have work experience to apply for an apprenticeship? Will that make you stand out during the application process?
So for PwC, no, not at all. And I would very much stress that we don't expect you to have anything prior. We don't look at your past history on your application form. So we would never look at the school that you've come from, the subjects that you've studied, and we won't also look, and we won't even ask for a CV. So we remain from you about any work experience, if that's a career that will be positive for you and then that's something that you'd like. However, for us, we're more looking at the skills that you could bring to the role and what you would do in situations that you were in as well. So all of our recruitment is based around what you would do rather than what you have done. However, different companies will do different things, so I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of the likes of Pearson College or anything like that.
Thank you very much, Anya. Next up, we're going to do another question for Emily. So degree apprenticeships and apprenticeships themselves are really good in the fact that you can balance going to university, going to college with your work. And what kind of balance is there between going to work and studying at college and university?
So there's quite a good balance. I work Monday to Thursday as part of my apprenticeship, and I attend face-to-face university teaching for my seminars on a Friday. Because my job role is really varied in terms of my working hours, I don't work 9 to 5 in an office. Like, I'm traveling quite a lot to lots of different schools and UCAS conventions. I find it can be difficult sometimes to balance my work and university work, but I think it doesn't take over my life. I probably spend a day out of my weekend, maybe not even a full day, and then maybe 2 or 3 evenings during the week studying for my degree, watching those lectures online, doing any seminar prep, maybe doing a bit of my my assessments before they're due. However, I'm very fortunate on my scheme. I also get 2 study hours a week to take to help with the work balance study. So that's not offered with all apprenticeships, but my Pearson Business School apprenticeship does mean that I get 2 hours worth of study as well each week, which helps with that balance. So I find it an all right balance, and I also have time to still socialise as well. So you don't completely lose your life. I hope that answers your question.
That was great. Thank you, Emily. Next up, we have another question for Anya. So some apprenticeships during the application process, they will ask you to go through an assessment centre. Do you have any tips for students who are looking at going through an assessment centre?
Yes, absolutely. So a really, really good question, because most students will never have come across an assessment centre before applying for an apprenticeship. So make sure that you understand what's going to be required of you from the assessment centre. Each company will do something slightly different, so make sure you ask the recruiter on their website for any hints and tips they give you. Most companies, again, will give you some information, and if not, we'll give you a contact number. So ring that contact number and ask them if they have any hints and tips as well. You can use the PwC Employability Hub. So we've got the e-learn that I showed you that you can go through. But otherwise, on the day, I think it's really important to make sure that you're actively engaged with the tasks that you're doing. So that could be with your group exercise or with the other candidates around you. Just make sure you're engaged in showing that you are listening and are taking in the information that's being given. Make sure you watch your time management, because a lot of the tasks that you would do might have a time management kind of aspect to them, or might have some kind of time commitment that you need to keep to. And finally, I'd say just work on your kind of communication skills. So this can be both your written and your verbal communication skills. So making sure that you're writing in clear, concise English if you're going to do a task, and your spelling and grammar is correct and all that kind of jazz. But also making sure that you can communicate really positively with the people around you. I'd say one of the main reasons that unfortunately students aren't successful at an assessment centre is because they simply don't say anything. And if you don't say anything and you don't make any contribution to the tasks, then we unfortunately can't pass you, because we haven't seen that you've shown what we're looking for. So making sure you get engaged and get involved is really important.
That was really useful. Thank you, Anya. Next up, we have a question for Emily. So the reason some students choose to apply to university is because they have those study abroad opportunities. They can go out in the world, get some experience in different countries. What kind of opportunities do apprenticeships provide to study abroad?
So with my apprenticeship, I do have the opportunity to go and work abroad. So I don't study, I am sent in between uni terms. So although I'm studying over summer term, we still obviously have the university breaks. So I go in between my university breaks and work abroad. I don't study abroad, but there are opportunities out there. At the moment, we aren't running any schemes the same as mine where you can go and work abroad. That's not to say you couldn't do your research and see if there are other schemes out there at the moment that are offering opportunities to go and study abroad or work abroad whilst you're an apprentice. But again, I don't know anything about that. I'm not actively looking for apprenticeships. It would just require me to go and do a lot of research, but there are opportunities out there. For example, I found my scheme where I do have those opportunities, but at the moment, it's not something that Pearson Business School are offering again this year.
Thank you very much, Emily. Next up, we've got a really big question. This has been coming up a lot, both on YouTube and on Zoom. So I'd like to pose this one to both of you, if Anya would like to go first, and then we'll pass over to Emily just to get your views on the topic. With COVID-19, what kind of impact do you think that will have on companies' willingness or their ability to offer apprenticeships both this year and looking into opportunities for 2021 as well? Anya, if you wanted to start on that one.
That is a really, really fantastic question. It's not something, unfortunately, I can shed an awful lot of light on. I confirm September for the next academic year at PwC, and I think a lot of companies are in the same boat. It is, as I said, it's a fantastic question, and I can understand that the job market seems really unstable, and you must be really worried about the opportunities that are available and out there. And so I know that us at PwC will try to give as much reassurance as soon as we can for the year ahead. But unfortunately, Megan, I'm so sorry, but I can't really comment an awful lot from our standpoint at the moment.
Then I was just going to ask Emily if she had any thoughts on that one as well. If she wanted to share any ideas or anything that she'd been come across about what she thinks is going to happen in the next year or so.
Yeah, so we are currently in the same sort of position. We're not sure. It depends on the company, whether they're recruiting or they're not. So at Pearson Business School, we have companies come to us and ask us to find them apprentices. So it does just depend on the company's recruitment. At the moment, there is a massive hiring freeze on. So obviously that is going to affect apprenticeships massively, but it's not to say that there won't be any companies that aren't recruiting. So I just watch the space, check Pearson Business School's website, sign up for those vacancy alerts, and see if any apprenticeships do come about, because I'm sure there are companies that are booming during this pandemic with their online strategies and things like that. So I'm sure by the time it's come to September, there may or may not be some companies recruiting, but I don't have enough information myself to be able to comment on that too much.
Thank you very much, Emily. Obviously, it is a constantly changing situation. So if you are looking at applying for an apprenticeship in the future, then do keep an eye on everything that's happening. Also, you might want to think about looking into different industries. Like Emily mentioned, some companies are doing really well at the moment. So it might be worth just broadening your horizons if you are looking at applying for an apprenticeship this year and thinking outside the box into what kind of opportunities you think might be out there and something that you think might be the right fit for you. Okay, we're going to carry on with some more questions. One for Anya. What kind of qualifications do I need to apply for your apprenticeship schemes? Can I apply with BTECs and GCSEs, or do I have to have A-levels?
It's a great question. So for our apprenticeships, we're looking at that UCAS point tally, so either 96 UCAS points or 112 UCAS points. And that can be from your A-levels, that can be from your BTEC, or that can be for equivalent. So if you do the International Baccalaureate or you do OCR, Cambridge exams, you know, there's lots that UCAS tally overall. And we will ask for a minimum GCSE requirement. Usually that's a grade, I believe 6 or might be a 5, can't quite remember. You could check our website in English and maths, but that would be the minimum requirement from us. And we also don't want any specific subjects. So, you know, you can come onto the tax program having studied history, art and English lit if you like. And similarly, you could do some very business heavy subjects. It's really about the skills that you can bring to the business, and we'll teach you all the knowledge that you need to know.
Great, thank you very much, Anya. Next up, a question for Emily. Now, as you're an apprentice yourself, and you covered this a little bit during your presentation, but this person just wanted a little bit more information. How much will I usually be paid during apprenticeship, and will this increase throughout my apprenticeship? So as I start getting more experience, getting more qualifications, can I expect the pay rate to go up during that time?
Yep, so again, it just depends on your employer. And what's agreed upon in your contract. So mine went up because minimum wage went up. So that's why my apprenticeship has changed, salary has changed whilst I've been on my apprenticeship. Another scheme, for example, we've run has been with Mondelez, who own Cadbury and Oreo. And their salary started off, I think, at £18,000, I think it was, and then increased to £20,000 a year within 18 months of the apprenticeship. And then also they get a company car as one of their perks of that apprenticeship. So that was a change 18 months in, because they go around talking to different suppliers and things like that, and they work in a local area, going to visit lots of different shops where their products are stocked. So again, it does depend on the apprenticeship and what's agreed upon, but that will be listed on the requirement on our website, and it will tell you the starting salary and if it will change during the apprenticeship, and again it will be listed in your contract.
That's great, thank you very much, Emily. Another question for Anya now. What are the main differences between the different levels of apprenticeships? So I know at PwC you offer a level 4 and a level 7. What can people expect between the different ones? What kind of qualifications are going to be different? Is the workload going to change? Those kind of things.
That is a really good question. I have to say, within the firm, there isn't the apprentices between a level 4 and a level 1, and they don't really get classes out when they come into the firm. They're just apprentices, and the level that you're doing doesn't really matter. You need to go online and have a look at the definitions of each of the different kind of levels of apprenticeships. Usually we offer the slightly lower grades for the level 4, and the level 7s do a slightly more difficult qualification that takes a little bit more time to do overall. However, there isn't a huge amount, as I said, of difference. Once you actually get into the firm, you're very much classed as an apprentice. The level 7 is technically kind of a master's level qualification when you finish, and therefore the work is a little bit hard to give you, as I said, more time to do it, and therefore your actual day-to-day workload is very, very much the same, no matter which apprenticeship you're on.
Thank you very much, Anya. Next up, we've got a question for Emily. So with apprenticeships, do you receive any kind of subsidy if you have to travel a long way to your apprenticeship, or if you need to move away from home? Will your employer provide any kind of support with your living expenses at all?
Yep, so as an apprentice, you're entitled to stay in student accommodation if that was something you wanted to do. So we haven't quite an even split actually among our apprentices. So we have some apprentices that commute. So I, for example, commute. I live in Essex and I commute into London if I'm attending university on a Friday, and then obviously I commute to a location I'm travelling to that day or that week with my work conventions. However, some apprentices find that maybe if they're working at Red Carnation hotels, for example, their shifts aren't 9 till 5, so their trains might not run at the time their shifts are finishing, so they choose to stay in student accommodation. That is an option, but it would come out of your salary. Just the same as if you're commuting, your travel costs come out of your salary because you are being paid a salary, so that comes out of that. But that's something to consider, whether you'd rather commute or you want to stay away in student accommodation.
Thank you very much, Emily. This is going to be our last question now, and I'm going to pose this to both Anya and Emily. It's really good to get different views on this question. So we've been asked, what kind of skills or qualities make a good apprentice? If you'd like to start on that one, Anya.
This is a great question. I would definitely say that for us it is around the PwC professional, and I know that sounds very corporate. There's a lot of qualities within that that really stand out. So it's things like being very positive in the face of kind of adversity, and being flexible to different working situations as well. So you'll be working full time in a role alongside other members of the team. Things change, things happen quite last minute. You might be pulled onto a different project because they need your support, and it's about being really positive and being able to adapt to that change and to pick up that task as quickly as possible. Also that communication skills, so being able to really positively communicate with the people in the team around you, and also with clients. So you'd be talking to clients from probably about a couple of weeks to a month into your role. So being able to positively communicate via email and via phone and kind of face to face as well. Other than that, kind of things like reliability and being able to be on top of your time management, and just being open to ideas and to learn new information as well. So a willingness to learn, I think, is a really important one.
Yeah, I'd sort of re-emphasize everything Anya said. So resilience is a really key skill. There will be times where you might get knocked back, or things might change, and just being really resilient is definitely a key attribute of being a degree apprentice. Staying on top of your time management, employability skills, learning how to write a professional email, learning how to prioritize certain tasks. If you're sent, for example, a 2-page email, just maybe you don't have time to read that, send back an email. I'll get back to you on Friday in regards to this email, just so they know you've read it. So some common courtesy, those sort of things, practicing that sort of skills and manners in the workplace, I guess, I'd say are really good skills for an apprentice.
Perfect, thank you very much. Got lots of questions all through there and some really lovely answers as well. So I hope that we managed to answer your first question and you got a really informative reply that can help you move on in your search for an apprenticeship if you've chosen and that's what you'd like to do. If you have any more questions or you'd like any more information about PwC or Pearson College, then definitely pop onto their website. They'll have contact details on there. You can get in touch with their student recruitment team or any of their current apprentices, and you can have a little talk with them, see if there's anything else that they can provide you with to help you in your application. Okay, our apologies if we weren't able to answer your question today. We will be back next week with another webinar Wednesday, so we'd love to see you again then. Next week we have a fantastic panel session lined up. We'll be talking about life at university. If you want to find out more about being an undergraduate student, so that's looking at accommodation, budgeting, social life, societies and extracurriculars, then definitely don't miss the session next week. We'll be joined by the University of Bradford, University of Wales, Trinity St David, University of Roehampton and the University of Kent. So lots of different places across the country to make sure you get a lovely, well-rounded view of what it's like to be an undergraduate. So if you'd like to get involved in that session, then head over to our website. That's www.ukuniversitysearch.com. And you can click on the purple webinars button just in the top of the website to sign up for all of our sessions there, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you just head to the UK University Search YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe and click the bell so that you get notifications when we're going live every week. You can also sign up for our virtual fair, which is going to take place on Wednesday the 17th of June from 12 till 6. Going to have over 80 different universities and colleges there. So if you're missing out on open days, or if you're looking to do some research into different clearing or adjustment options, then it's a really great opportunity and it's definitely not to be missed, considering how many different events have been cancelled this summer. It's definitely something that you want to check out to make sure you've got all of your choices covered. I'm sure you'd like to join me in saying a massive thank you to both Emily and Anya for all of their advice and all of the information they've given us today. It's been a really informative session and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Thank you very much to both our Zoom and YouTube viewers, and from me and the whole UK University Search team, stay home and stay safe.